Firstly, James, then, can you just start by telling me why you decided to stand when the seat became vacant? What made you think, yeah, I want to stand to be an MP in Oldham West and Royton?
Well, sometimes I feel when I answer this question that it's a little trite or it's a little predictable, but it comes down to one thing, that I've got into politics because I want to help people, because I feel that I can offer something, and that I can try and make people's lives better, contribute to people having a better and more rewarding life. Now, when the opportunity to stand in Parliament, to stand in a constituency such as this comes up, I would hope that anybody who thinks like me would think it's a fantastic opportunity to help people. God, there can't be many better things in life than to do that, I wouldn't think. And so it is simply to do with that. I got into... and Alex, I don't want to give you be here for hours, but can I speak at... You don't mind how long I talk about?
Absolutely not, no, feel free.
I got into... I've been a criminal defence solicitor, or a legal aid solicitor, for... how long now? About 10 years, give or take. And I represented people from the most disadvantaged backgrounds who had drugs, drink, substance abuse problems, were homeless, had all sorts of issues in their life. And it always annoyed me when I was representing them that people have always viewed criminals as criminals. Sometimes when I go into a court, I think people look and don't think there's a human being there. But within every human being, with it, no matter how their life is, there is potential and there is hope, and it's just a case of how we can, as a society, help them to fulfil their potential. And I represented a young man who I've represented for a long time, and he was called Matthew. And I was in court with him at Bury Youth Court, and he was 14 years of age. And this was a young boy who had two parents who had substance abuse problems, had very rarely been to school, had no guidance in his life, had lived essentially in a squalor. And I was in court, and I was obviously trying my best to represent him. And then he stood up, with no education, at 14 years of age, and stood up and spoke better than me, was a better advocate, and understood more about human emotion and how to express it, and his hopes and fears. And I just looked at him and I thought, that cannot be fair. It cannot be right that you, with all that potential inside you, with everything you've got to offer to the world, that because of circumstances outside of your control, you're not having a fair shot at life. And so I genuinely felt from that moment that, yeah, I want to get into it because I want to make sure that people like Matthew have the chance to be something, to have... When I talked to Matthew outside of the courtroom, the idea that he could be, I'm just a silly example, but like a judge or a doctor was like anathema to him. Nobody ever told him that he could do that. And so when I said, you can do this, but it takes more than that. And for somebody in my position, I felt that trying to contribute and trying to help the Matthews through politics was where I wanted to go, and that really has motivated me. Matthew now, Alex, is sadly, I still represent him, but he's sadly now in prison. And so I saw that great 14-year-old, and he's still a great guy. I don't care, even though he's in prison, he's a great guy. He's somebody I've known for a long time. And he didn't have those chances. He didn't have what I wanted, what I would have wanted in a perfect world for him to have. And he's now in prison. And I hope that if I continue to know him for years to come, that we can do something in the future. But I don't want more 14-year-olds to slip through the net. The idea, a politician, I always think that a politician should start off from the point of view of why are you in politics, and then essentially find your party after that. And I'm in politics because I want to that disadvantaged child who comes from the background, similar background to what I've talked about. I want to make sure that they can be whatever they want, or as close to being whatever they want to be in life. And that's why I'm in it, and that's why I'm a Conservative, because I believe that Conservative philosophy and Conservative policies are the best way of getting there. I mean, an ex-member of Parliament for Oldham said this, and I was just looking at this before I came in here. I'm sorry to say this, but I think this is exactly, as you can tell, I'm a complete technophobe, Alex. But I'm just looking at this. You can see it straight in front of me here. It's just simply a quote from Winston Churchill. We are all for the ladder. We are for the ladder. Let's all try their best to climb. We are for the ladder. That's why I'm here. And I think that people in Oldham, and to we could be anywhere, that's what people want. They want the chance to succeed, to thrive, and to be happy. And that's what I want to talk about. When I'm knocking on doors in Oldham, that's what I'm talking about. I have a plan which I've put together, which I think is very important, which I'm sure we can come on to. But this is about hope. This is about optimism. Oldham is a great place, but it can be even better.
Yeah. Is that kind of why you've identified Oldham? Because a lot of the issues you talk about there can relate to this town, certainly. I think
let's just say identified, I think, is the wrong word. I mean, Oldham, this situation came because of the very sad and tragic death of Mr. Meacher. So it's not a question of targeting a certain place, because I don't think the desire to do good is limited by geography. So it's not limited to sort of the northwest of England or Yorkshire or wherever else like that. I think people who are motivated to do the right thing and to be, and to want to help other people, have got a lot to give. There's a lot of people. There's a big fallacy about politics that most people politicians, rightly or wrongly, have the public perhaps don't have the best perception at this moment in time. Politicians have generally, the public don't tend to look on us favourably as a breed to start off with, but I've met very few people involved in politics who aren't looking for the skies, who think the world can be a better place, and that's why hopefully everybody who's involved in this campaign is here, but it's certainly why I'm here.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people see it as an issue that obviously you're representing Oldham at a national level, so a lot of people will say, well, what about Oldham? What can you offer Oldham? As a town, obviously, you have...
As a person you're talking about.
What are the issues that you're identifying in this town? And I know that you can identify them with a lot of other places, is what you've said, but what specifically about Oldham?
Well, I have a 3-point plan, and one of the reasons why I have a 3-point plan which focuses on issues which affect the everyday lives of people in Oldham, Chadderton and Royton. The reason for that is, one of the other messages that I get from knocking on people's doors is that they feel this town's been left behind, it's been ignored, and it has been extremely badly politically run by the Labour Party over the last 30 to 40 years. And the ordinary things that affect their lives every day, they are being ignored. And so I think what this town and what the vision that I'm putting forward is not only talking about the bigger, should we say, broader national issues which affect every constituency in the country, but making sure people in this town who feel that fly tipping, who feel that littering, who feel that antisocial behaviour affects their lives every single day, who want to see more investment in the town.
Yeah.
Those are the issues that I'm concentrating on, issues that affect their everyday. Once they walk out the front door, I want to be there. Now, a politician can say, well, let's just leave it to the local council. But if the local council's ignored your concerns, you need a member of parliament who's going to be here, who's going to stand up for you. Local members of parliament are employed for the sole reason to make people's lives better, aren't they? And if people are coming and saying to you, there's potholes at the bottom of my road. Well, if nobody else is doing anything about it, I'll do something about it. If the littering is all over the place and nobody's doing anything about it, well, I'll organise a litter pick. And that's what I think is a practical way of dealing with it. And those are the issues that I'm concentrating on.
One of those bigger, broader national issues you probably may have been referring to is tax credits.
Yeah.
It's going to affect 8,000 families in Oldham West and Royton if the cuts do come in.
Yeah.
Are you expecting to lose voters because of that in this constituency with so many families relying on them?
Well, let me tell you something first about me again. That I was brought up by a single mum, who was reliant on benefits. I was talking to her about this over the weekend. And when her and my dad separated, we had nowhere to go. We went to live with my grandma. Thank God that we did, because if we hadn't have had her house to go to, we'd have had nothing. My mum worked four jobs per week as a cleaner, and was reliant on support from the state, whilst also she started off, when I was young, she had no qualifications. So over the first 10 to 15 years of my life, she did her O-levels or A-levels and did a degree and got to the point where she qualified, and I'm very proud as a social worker. So can I first of all say that in terms of coming from a background where people need the support of the state to thrive and succeed and to help them to get where they want to do in life, that's where I'm from, so I understand completely like that. In terms of the tax credit argument, we can only put forward whichever political viewpoint you represent, or whatever view you represent, the reason as to why you feel a policy is a good one or a bad one, or whatever it is you feel about it, and try and persuade people. If people don't accept your argument, whether it's on tax credits or whatever it be, then they will vote as they will vote. But I think that if you come from a situation where you understand, where you've been there and you've struggled and you've seen, and you've been brought up in an environment where, times have been hard, then I think understanding is a big part of being able to represent, isn't it? Because no matter whether it's tax credits or whether it's anything else, you've got to understand. I'm from you haven't raised this issue. We've talked about it a little bit, but I'm born in Huddersfield. From where I used to live, 10 minutes outside of Oldham. I'm from a proud northern industrial town which has struggled over the last 30 to 40 years. Some of the traditional industries have disappeared, and people need help, and I'm here to give help and to try my best for them.
So, well, you mentioned that it is a struggle that you do understand, with the background you come from. Does that mean that you don't necessarily agree with the cuts?
No, not at all. I think when you're looking at the issue of how this government supports working people, you've got to look at a broad package of measures. You can't just simply judge one, in my opinion, one policy on its own merits. And again, we're talking on Monday. There's the autumn statements coming out on Wednesday, so we don't know the precise, should we say, package in respect of tax credits. So there may well be some more measures coming out in the next few days, Alex,
right,
which will affect this. But if you look at the introduction of the national living wage, if you look at the tax, the reductions in tax for people in this constituency, 20,000 people have had a tax cut in this constituency. 2,000 people have been taken out of tax altogether. 1,700 people are in employment who were not in employment in 2010. For 3 and 4 year, for families with 3 and 4 year olds, the free childcare on offer has doubled. So if you take all of those into effect, you have a package from a party that has at its very core the desire to support working people and to help working people, and I fully support that.
So I think, but what you're saying then is that although these cuts are coming in place, the overall package for families like that is better now.
I'm saying that the judge, everybody's circumstances are different,
right,
and the government have a range of policies which are addressing the issue of supporting working families and working people, and I could list for you a number of statistics which I'm sure you have access to. I've said since 2010 there's been more employment in this constituency. People will continue, the tax allowance, the tax threshold is being raised. There are other policies which that there are a vast range of policies which I believe are supporting working people in this constituency. But I have to say that I know, and it's just a human emotion, I know that for people things are not always easy, and things are tough.
I don't want to stick with cuts for too long. We will move on to it, but I just think this is an important issue to raise as well. You're a councillor yourself over in Bury. I'm presuming Bury's faced a similar amount of cuts that Oldham Council has. Oldham, by 2017, I think Oldham Council have had its budget cut by 205 million. As a councillor, have you started to see the effects of those cuts?
I sit in the council chamber at Bury, certainly up until this year, and Labour politicians have said to me what a great job they have done, because they have maintained the level of service, the amount of services, even with the reduced budgets that they have. So I congratulate them in respect to that. I would assume that Mr McMahon may well be coming here and saying that he has achieved a similar thing. There are efficiencies within local government that local councils have been very successful, I think, of meeting. So in Bury, we have been able to continue to provide the same level of services on the basis of what the Labour councils say, even though there have been reductions in the budget. But I think the bigger picture as well is that it's all very well for Mr McMahon and Labour to be making these policies. It's a strange thing to do, though, isn't it? We crash the economy, we destroy the economy, and then we complain about that a government comes in to attempt to live within our means. Yeah. It's a very strange argument to make. I mean, one of the things, Alex, about policy is, in Oldham, for example, I haven't seen Mr McMahon or any other local politician say how much money they need to provide the services they want to provide in an effective and efficient manner. Now, I'm sure that any local politician would say, give me an unlimited pot of cash, but that may well be the Labour Party's way of going about things. Just give me as much money and we'll do whatever. But in the real world, when there's only a certain amount of money to spend, let's actually have that argument. How much money do you need to provide these services? Rather than... The Labour Party never come up with solutions, in my opinion. This is one of the reasons why I'm a Conservative. It's always negative, cut, this, that and the other. Not how we can do things better. I get back to the point I started at the top of this. How can we make Oldham better? 40 years or a substantial period of time Labour have run this council. People say to me, just about every day, even Labour supporters say to me, that the way that this council has been run over that period of time is not acceptable. The town's been left behind. It's not got its fair share of investment. It's not run in the way they want to see. Those basic points that are part of my plan, littering and fly tipping and crime antisocial behaviour order, these have not been tackled.
Something that came out this week, and it did come from the Conservative Party actually, was a story about the amount of money that Jim McMahon is paid, around 40,000 a year as council leader.
Yeah,
I think there's another 39,000 a year then from the local government association for his role as party chair there. Do you
that's
think
not paid for the tax? That's not paid by the taxpayer in Oldham, I don't think.
No, it's not. Yeah, that's kind of the point I was making. That 39,000 does come from the LGA.
Yeah.
The rest is his council leader. Do you think he's paid too much annually?
Well, he's paid. I think £80,000 is a lot of money. I've never earned £80,000 in my life, so I don't know how that feels, to be honest with you. So Mr. McMahon can perhaps advise me how it feels to be earning that amount of money. The LGA, I can't really comment on that because I mean, perhaps it's a job of great importance. I don't know, but I'm going to be fair to Mr. McMahon. My view, he earns approximately £40,000. He's in control of a huge employee. He's in control of a big organisation. And although £40,000 is a lot more than a lot of people earn in Oldham West and Royton, I still think it is a fair remuneration for somebody running a big organisation such as this with the responsibilities that he's had. The other bit of it, Alex, that bit's a mystery to me.
Me also. Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's stick with Jim for a second then.
Yeah.
One of his biggest projects, arguably his biggest, is the Town Hall project. It's 36.7 million plans to transform.
This is the one Mr. Bickley's had his
yes, that one. To transform the old Town Hall into a cinema. I don't know if you have a view on that. It's just because it has become an issue in this election.
In my view, one of the things that Oldham requires, and this is also part of my plan, is investment. Is investment in the town, investment of projects which are going to create jobs and create economic activity. I support exactly in terms of what Mr. McMahon, well, should we say what the proposal is in respect of that. Not all proposals are perfect, but the town needs jobs, the town needs change, and anything which obviously is sensible, which has a business plan behind it, which has a purpose to it, to again get him back, giving local people better facilities and better job opportunities, is a very good idea, in my opinion. Let's invest in the town. See, I would take that a step further, rather than just arguing about, well, I'm sure Mr. Big would take a different view on this, but rather than having simply a discussion about one investment opportunity, that's not how we should go about politics. We should be having a debate about how many more investment opportunities there are going to be. Northern Powerhouse is bringing in the idea, is bringing in unprecedented investment opportunities in the years to come, I believe. This town needs somebody who's going to go out there and make sure that Oldham has the chance of getting hold of this money. So rather than just concentrating on one, let's use this investment opportunity as the first of many. Let's all work together to come up with creative ideas, which are going to provide more facilities, which are going to provide more things that will benefit local residents and more jobs. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. So rather than talk about one, let's talk about the next 10 that we can get in the next 10 years. They're going to transform this place. But nobody's talking about that. No, Mr. Bickley, he's not interested in that, is he? Mr. McMahon doesn't seem to be talking about that either. Do you see what I mean?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Constantly moaning and barking from the sidelines in respect to things, rather than having a plan regarding how you make things better. I get back. My plan is trying to make things better for residents, but let's look at the bigger picture. Let's get more money in. The second part of my plan is more investment. Whether it's in public transport, links, or whatever it is, let's look at the bigger picture in terms of that.
stay with the bigger pitch then. Yeah. You mentioned there that the Northern Powerhouse. I mean, how crucial is that going to be for a town like Oldham?
I think the Northern Powerhouse it gives towns all over the north, including Oldham, the opportunity. It gives it access. The idea, as you know, Alex, of the Northern Powerhouse is the devolving of economic decisions, shall we say, to local politicians who know their local areas and know how that money can be best invested to boost the economy, which of course will have an effect for people who live there. You know, whether it's road infrastructure, $6 billion going into Northern road infrastructure, or the other investment opportunities, I think at the very least the Northern Powerhouse is giving Oldham the chance, the access to funds and monies which can benefit everybody living here. But when you have that opportunity, you need the right representation. You need to be looking at that. I'm sorry for repeating myself, but you go back about this. If I'm elected member of Parliament, I'll be knocking on doors every moment of the day to get my hands on this money. So Oldham's got its hands on this money, so we can do things. And it's not just a case of what James Daly or whoever wants to do. Let's all as a community get involved. What do we need? What can make lives better? What can create jobs? What do people think? And so the Northern Powerhouse is certainly over the last number of years is a unique opportunity for local politicians to direct and to direct economic activity in their areas for the benefit of local people. And if you can match that together with better transport infrastructure, linking up the towns of the north, all the better. Oldham has a unique geographical position in my mind. It's the gateway to the Pennines, or it's the gateway. I was made the mistake say gateway to Yorkshire, but the gateway to the Pennines. But it's also the gateway to Manchester. It's perfectly geographically located, and certainly Labour politicians haven't taken advantage of that location, I don't believe, over the last 30, 40 years.
And you think it's time to grasp
It's time
that
for change. I mean, we can argue forever. Oldham needs a different vision. It needs somebody to come in here with a different vision, because the vision that's been personified in the Labour Party over that period of time hasn't worked. You need somebody coming in who thinks that Oldham is full of potential, that Oldham can and will be better, and I'll be there all the way to make sure that to the best of my ability, that happens.
So I think it's quite clear you feel it's time for a change in Oldham then? Has that been... yeah?
Yes.
What's the response you've been getting on the doorstep from
really
people you've been speaking to?
It's amazing how... see, again, this is the thing about... You go and knock on the door and you introduce yourself, you talk to people and you're a human being. It's amazing how people get to like you at that basis. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't shout at people and throw, and force policies down people's necks. The response I've had, and I'm very glad for that, and I'm really appreciative of everybody, has been very positive. The Conservative Party's economic message, and what I would say are the economic successes of in Oldham and places like this, there's still a lot of things to do, but the economic strengths of the Conservative Party and what we are trying to do are recognised and are, I think, supported by most of the people. By far the majority of the people that I've been talking to, think we've got a strong economic message. They think that we're creating jobs in the economy, we're creating economic activity. And people correspond that with the record of the Labour government and the Labour Party locally, and think, that's a really positive message. And how would it not be? Get back to all the things I could list out for you. 20,000 people taxed. Tax cut 2,000 people out of tax altogether. 1,700 new jobs, investment, 95,000 new businesses in the northwest, all creating economic activity. I've been at a business this morning at Fine Line Kitchens in Chadderton. 30 to 40 people taken on, benefiting from the economic strengths in the economy at this moment in time. More people able with disposable income to buy kitchens, apprentices taken on. This is fantastic news. This didn't happen. Labour crashed the economy. They seem to forget this. Crashed it. And what the government trying to do? They're trying to create the circumstances whereby businesses, and it's succeeding, where businesses are opening. We've still got... It's not a finished project yet, but we've made a start, and we are seeing in the local economy the benefits of it. But we've still got much to do, and that much to do needs Oldham West needs a strong local voice who will stand up and deliver for people in Chadderton, Royton, and Oldham.
Right. I think you mentioned that a lot of people in Oldham then have started to see the good that the Conservatives have been doing in terms of the economy. What's still an issue for them? What have they said? What have they said to you that there is their major concern? I know you have a 3-point plan. Are they the three biggest concerns? Or?
Well, they've talked to me about that. They've talked to me about immigration. They have. You see, I've tried, hopefully, in this interview to show that I look on the positive of everything. A lot of the conversations involve negative views on the other parties and what it's perceived that they haven't done for this particular town. But people look and they see a government that are tackling the deficit, are creating more than 2 million jobs in the economy. They see a government with a plan that is delivering. Now, as we both know, Alex, let's not get carried away with this, although that's what people are saying, that in Oldham, we've still got much to do. We want to get more people into jobs. We want to get more people in apprenticeships. We want to get more investment in skills so that we have the best, we have a high-skilled workforce in here which can take advantage of the modern economy. There's lots of things in Oldham that can be improved and taken forward. So, positive national economic picture and what's happened locally. How have they taken advantage of that? Question mark.
There's much being said at the moment about Jeremy Corbyn and his leadership and potential disarray within the Labour Party.
Yeah.
Does that make this kind of the worst possible time for a by-election to take place for Labour? Because this is described as a Labour stronghold, which I think that with how long Mr Meacher held this seat can't be argued. I mean, do you think they're really worried that they might lose this seat because of that?
The only thing I can do in this election is to go out knocking on doors, can go out speaking to people like your good self, Alex, and try and sell and talk and say what I'm about. And why I believe that the voting for the Conservatives is a positive vote and can lead on to something can benefit the people in this constituency. What Labour think about their leader is a matter for Labour. In that, I will, as you can probably guess, a lot of people have brought up the name Jeremy Corbyn to me on the doorstep, and not very many people of them are big complimentary about that. But that is as it may be. Let Labour worry about that. I have a plan for Oldham. And I'm more... See, this is the thing, isn't it? When we get into these politics, let's have a discussion about Jeremy Corbyn. Let's have a discussion about this, that, and the... Let's not have a discussion about that. Let's have a discussion how we can get 10,000... whatever the figure is, 5,000 more people in work in this constituency, how we can bring high-tech industries here, how we can invest in places like Oldham College and get more apprentices. Let's have a discussion about that. Now, when I've been reading a lot of the things that I've been read, I read one of your profiles of the other candidates. There's a lot of negative. There's a lot of saying this is bad or that's bad. There's no big plan for this town. Get back to it. The Matthews who are in Oldham, and what Winston said. Let's get back to that. Yeah. We provide the ladder. How are you going to take advantage of that? And I could go through that again. And that's what we should be talking about. Doesn't matter what background you're from. Doesn't matter where you live. You should have the best possible chance. But Labour don't want to talk about it because they have no record and no view on it. And well, UKIP, they have a view on. They don't seem to have the priorities that I have in politics, which may be right or wrong. Immigration is a big concern in this area, and that is a very fair point for UKIP and other parties to point out. But there we go.
I mean, it seems very much that it's something you seem very passionate about from the conversation we're having now is making sure that people like Matthew, as you said, that everyone has that same opportunity. Yeah. Is that fundamentally what you want to bring to Oldham?
Absolutely.
Is that your main reason for
Absolutely,
being here?
100%. It is unfair. Well, I don't want to repeat myself, but it is fundamentally unfair that young kids who've done nothing wrong to anybody, that through circumstances outside of their control, do not have, I think, do not have a fair chance of succeeding and thriving. It is my view, Alex, that the policy essentially, or what the Labour Party seems to me to have stood for in the last period in government, is essentially an encouragement to maroon young kids on benefits. No aspiration, no hope, no looking up to the stars. You can do anything, you can take anybody on, you can go and do anything in life. We want to open up all the great things that life has to open up for you and all the opportunities. No, stay on benefit. We don't expect anything from you. You know, it's an old-fashioned view, but with my mindset, I want kids to be told, you world beaters, you know, you've got everything to offer. We got a town like this, full of young kids, full of potential. You know, who can change, well, they can be our next politician, they can be our next scientist, they can all do this. But they've got to have representation which believes in them. The Labour Party have never said that in any of their campaign literature. They're not talking about anything to do with that. These people who've been representing for 40 years, who in Chadderton, Royton and Oldham are being marooned on benefit and being given, you know, and we're not talking about, about the education provision or anything else like that. We need to talk about these things. You know, we don't deal, do we? If politics is about having just a general... If you want, as Oldham's your representative, as all to sit round in a hustings and to have a general debate about great national issues, because there is an argument that your MP should sort of go and live in London, have these sort of great international issues in their head and be sort of Oldham, Chadderton, Royton's representative in thinking about that, then that's fine. You know, Mr McMahon may be the man who can go in there and debate with his colleagues in respect of that. I want to be here and I want to be supporting people. So in the schools, I want to be in the schools knowing if GCSE results aren't what they were, the teachers and everything are doing a fantastic job here. Why are we not doing it? Why is it not? And trying to look at solutions for this. If there's problems with crime and antisocial behaviour, I was at an event on Saturday where it was pointed out to me there was, I'm going to say the area, there's a problem with antisocial behaviour in a certain part, and the residents are at the wit's end. So is it the role of the MP just simply to say, oh, well, that's very nice, Mrs Smith, I'll just ignore that completely, I'll refer you on to this? It's not. Represent people, try and make people's lives better.
Yeah. I mean, this may tie into my next question, my last question. I just wanted to lastly for you to tell me and to tell the readers listening why on December the 3rd they should vote for you. Why are you the person they should vote for?
I don't know what else I could say on top of what I've said already. If you want somebody who's on your side, if you want somebody who believes that you should have the best schooling, the best access to education and skills, who believes that you should have a 7-day-a-week NHS which will look after you when you are ill, that somebody who believes that you should keep more of your money through low taxation, and somebody who will do their very best to help you no matter what your background, no matter who you vote for, no matter who you are, to help you. I get back to that point. Jobs of politicians are to help people. They are the ladder. You then have to encourage people to climb up that ladder, but to give people the opportunity to thrive, succeed and prosper. That's what I'm about. Great. And if people want that type of MP who is positive, is enthusiastic and believes that Oldham is a great place but can be even better, then I'm your man.